Uh, Hello, good afternoon. I don't know what, but you seem all more spread out today than usual. That's, it's lovely. It's lovely. Um, Welcome and good afternoon to you all. This is the Council's Cabinet and it's going to be webcast. Um, Before we start these proceedings, can I bring to your attention some housekeeping matters? There's no expected fire alarm testing today, so if it does sound, can you please follow the fire emergency procedures and leave via the nearest fire exit? Can I please ask that you use your microphone when addressing the meeting and it is switched off when you're not using it? And can you also ensure that your mobile devices are switched to silent? I've tried doing mine, but it just refuses to behave, so apologies in advance. Speaking of apologies, are there any apologies for today's meeting, Jamie?
Thank you, Leader. No apologies received today.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any declarations of interest on any of the items on today's agenda? No? That's great. And before I go any further, I'd like to welcome Charlie and Megan, who are sat at the back. They've joined the Democratic Governance and Scrutiny Services team and are giving us the once-over today. So as part of their induction. So welcome and thank you for choosing Plymouth City Council. We're very honoured to have you here. So I'd now like to move to item 3 on the agenda, which is questions from the public. Jamie, is anybody here?
Thank you, Leader. No members of the public have turned up today, so their questions will be circulated after the meeting.
That's marvellous. They'll be published in some form or other, because I think it'd be worth seeing the answers to these questions, since council taxpayers' money has been spent on studiously researching them to make sure that the answers are respectful and fully answer the questions that are made. And of course, you know, the officer's time is very expensive, isn't it? And so it's important that we see the full glare of publicity on these answers. Thank you very much. I will now go to before I start, I've got some chair's urgent business that I have to attend to, if you don't mind. I shall dial this up. The first bit of chair's urgent business that I have is to take a moment to acknowledge someone whose contribution to this council, to this cabinet and to our city has been truly extraordinary. Today marks Councillor Sally Hayden's final cabinet meeting as she prepares to retire after 20 years of dedicated public service. And while I know Sally would prefer us to just get on with it would not be right to let this moment pass without recognising the impact that she's made. Councillor Hayden has brought compassion, determination and unwavering integrity to every role she's held, whether championing the welfare of residents, standing up for the most vulnerable, or ensuring that community voices are not only heard, but genuinely acted upon. Her commitments never faltered. She's also broken new ground as the first female chair of the Police and Crime Commissioner panel, helped bring forward the award-winning Park Crematorium. We've heard about that once or twice, haven't we? And been a tireless champion of the Violence Against Women and Girls campaign, as well as, obviously, her tireless work for residents in St. Budo. Her leadership, her experience and her calm, grounded presence around this table have shaped important decisions and helped steer the council through both challenges and achievements. And we haven't even talked about the bombs. Sally, your contribution to public life has made a real and lasting difference. And while we miss your insight, your humour and your dedication in this room, you leave with our deepest gratitude and warmest wishes for a happy and fulfilling retirement. So on behalf of the Cabinet, the Council and the residents of our city, thank you. You want to say anything?
don't know if you've left very much for me to say. It goes without saying, it's been such an honour. 20 years is a long time in politics. A day sometimes is a long time in politics. But, you know, firstly, it goes without saying, I would need to thank the people of St Budo for giving me those 20 years. I started with the thought that nobody would vote for me, and I'll just do that one term. Obviously, I've never been cabinet member for finance because 20 years later, so I can't add up. But all I wanted to do was achieve and get in a crossing, really, for young people to be able to go to school safely. Yeah, when you read it out, I suppose there is an awful lot. A lot of people talk about the Kean bombing. I don't know if you've ever heard, but I do talk an awful lot about the Park Crematorium, and plus the cafe to go with it. But yeah, I think I started absolutely petrified of the media, petrified of speaking to anybody, very quiet. I think Kean bombing might have overcome that fear. But, throughout, it's been absolutely fantastic. I've worked with some fantastic officers, I have to say. They're very supportive here in the council. And it goes without saying about my Labour family as well. You've all had my back, you've all watched me. And now it's time really to give the family a bit of time again and to use that motorhome and explore the world, really. So I wish you all luck. You're doing some amazing stuff here in the city. I might have to pop around and see when Armada Way's open, because I've watched that grow, and you should all be very proud of yourselves. Nobody can do it on their own. It takes a team, and this is a team. So thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Sally. And, well, you've got some business today to attend to as well, so we'll hear from you again in a minute. So as many of you will have seen, the government has announced the first wave of 7 new towns. Now, these are predominantly large-scale extensions on greenfield land of over 15,000 homes each. Plymouth was not amongst those selected. However, what's important, and what's really important, is that Plymouth's unique proposition has been formally recognised by government in a way that sets us apart from every other area taken forward today. In the government's own words, and I quote, "We were impressed by the strength of propositions across the board. That is particularly true of Plymouth, which is a unique opportunity to bolster the UK's defence and security, and if not ultimately taken forward as part of the programme, will require special consideration and its own bespoke financial support package to unlock its potential as a centre of excellence in naval technology and to ensure that housing does not act as a barrier to further growth," which, from my point of view, is job done, really. I mean, if you think where we started, where the government was actually going to just do the defence stuff and then we'll just manage. Actually, where we are now, I think, is in a stronger position and a more predominant position than we've perhaps ever been. If you put that together with what we've already done in terms of the memorandum of understanding with Homes England, the money that they've already committed, the acquisitions that they've already made, the demolitions that are underway, the plans for new houses in the city centre that have already been made, the start that Chris is going to be talking about in Bass Street. There's loads happening in Plymouth at the moment around housing. And on housing, I think, I want to talk about that straight away, because as usual, when we talk about we're going to build some houses, there's 2 groups of people, aren't there, in the city. There's the people who say you never build any houses, and then when you do build houses, they're for other people. Well, let me tell you, they're for these houses, shall I? They're for people who are going to be living and working in Plymouth. They're not student accommodation. They're not houses for people who come here into the country illegally. What they are is houses for local people. They're houses for your kids. They're houses for your grandkids. It could be your first home, It could be. a start for you, where for years you've been renting in substandard accommodation, where the damp is on the walls and your kids are ill. It's to improve their lives. That's why we're doing this. Yes, we'll be doing it for dockyard workers, but dockyard workers live in Plymouth. They are Plymouthians. And the people who will be coming to work in the dockyard will be, eventually, when we subsume them, they'll be joiners too. And so can we just pause a minute and think, this is amazing. This is fantastic. The opportunity for us to be at the forefront, and we're not in a queue behind those 7 new towns, by the way, for new towns funding. We're going to have our own pipeline of cash. That pipeline has already started flowing, by the way. The evidence will be there in the demolitions, the site acquisitions we heard last week about, and then we've got this superb framework where we're actually going to consult with the local community about the kind of Plymouth city centre that we're going to have in the future. I mean, we can talk about plans, but actually what's important is that those plans are made with the people who are going to live there and the people who are going to work and live in the spaces between those new opportunities. So, I mean, you know, this is fantastic. Our ambition for a town in the city still stands. We still need 10,000 homes in the city centre, and we will get them. It is all about our partnership, our strategic partnership with Homes England, the City Living Framework. They all predate the New Towns proposition that we were making anyway. And so we saw the New Towns thing as a means of accelerating what we were already doing. But actually, if I read that quote that I've just read out again, that is about us having a special place. That is about the government wanting to turbocharge what we were planning to do anyway. It's just we won't be going down the New Towns route at this point. And even now, it might be sometime in the future we will. But right for now, we have a lot of money coming our way, a lot of opportunity coming our way. And yeah, I mean, look, I mean, it's important to say what captured the imagination, right? So we talked about our defence thing. We talked about the fact that, you know, we talked about our defence-led growth. And we've had multiple visits, we've had presentations, we've had detailed work with our officials. We've done this from a standing start. Some of the people who are on that New Towns list have been planning their new town for a long time. But what I'm so proud of is the fact that we've now done enough work to merit our own bespoke arrangement and funding solution. That's significant. So the government were impressed by our coherent and long-term city vision. They were amazed really at our strength, the strength of our Team Plymouth partnership, the long-term housing demand that we have identified now driven by defence and economic growth around defence. Our high quality in-house delivery capability, our track record on delivery, things like the box and the Civic Centre, our strong partnerships, including the Health Village and both the CDC proposition, which nearly finished, and the CDC2, we hope to see as well. And the other thing about what we are planning is to move quickly. You know, we're going to start, I think Chris did a press release this week about Southway, I think, and, you know, there's lots going on now, and we're going to see real progress over the next 4 years. So over the past 2 weeks, we presented the government with a plan for the first phase of delivery. And that's why we wanted that money. Now, these conversations are going to continue as we now move towards a place-based business case proposition. Again, I think we're in a really, really strong position on that because we've been invited into that space. So we'll put our full business case in the summer, which will talk again about phase 1 of our plans. And then I really want to say this because, you know, We're energised by the opportunity to have a bespoke arrangement with government for our housing delivery plan. And this plan not only is just houses, it's place shaping and place making. It's the opportunity to grow our city centre and the opportunity that's before us really to talk about the scale of the ambition and the scale of the prospect of delivery here. So, City Living Framework, progressing the projects that we've already got in motion. That's the Civic Centre, it's Bath Street, it's Mill Bay, it's Colin Campbell Court, and Armada Way North, right? Now, show me a provincial city in the country that's got that going on right now, and you won't find one. And the what we've got here is real activity, real action, real money being spent on real projects, which are going to deliver houses for real people, for local people. It's really important. So, the Civic, we've submitted the planning application, which is, just so I can reiterate again, high quality city centre living in an iconic tower, alongside a city centre college proposition. That campus will prepare the workforce of the future. The Blue-Green Skills Hub will train 2,000 students annually across 60 programmes. That's going to bring in talent for marine engineering, renewable energy and sustainable construction. All huge growth sectors for us in this city. The CDC2, we've submitted now a planning application, a planning application has been submitted for the second CDCD, Colin Campbell Court. CDC1, a 4-storey building, I think, a 3-storey that looks like a 4. I think the CDC2 is a 4-storey that looks like a 5, I think. But there is the potential for a 5-storey actually as well, should funding allow. That's really exciting as well. The proposition to relieve not only activity at Derryford, you know, and make even more space available for A&E up at Derryford, but the potential for new primary care facilities in the city centre is, you know, really compelling. And then there's Homes England investment as well. Momentum's continuing to build in this space. So the money centre I mentioned, 3 other key sites in Armada Way North, and all underpinned by that memorandum of understanding that I talked about, which we signed in last June. And don't forget the significance of that, you know, that we're the only city in the country to have such an MOU with Homes England. Everybody else is either a regional mayoralty or, well, that's it. We're the only city, the only council to have such a deal. And these things aren't handed out like confetti, you know. They're done on the basis, because it's not just our reputation on the line. It's Homes England's reputation on the line. And let me tell you, they're a tough nut to crack, but we've cracked it. And they are going to be working actively and at pace with us, because they share our ambition to deliver these 10,000 homes in the city centre. So let's repeat again. That announcement is not a setback, far from it. It's recognition at the highest levels of the potential that we have built here in Plymouth. A recognition that our model is not just different, it is special, and a commitment from government that Plymouth will receive the bespoke financial support needed to unlock that potential. So our path forward is clear, our ambition is unchanged, and our momentum has never been stronger. That's what I'm saying today. Okay, I'm going to move on now. We have some very important business. On item 5, in the supplement pack, pages 1 to 46, is the transformation strategy. And I have got, as well as Kate Taylor, the Cabinet member, for, amongst other things, transformation strategy. I won't read all the other ones. Cy Bellamy, our Chief Operating Officer, is here, and Pete Honeywell, Transformation Architecture Manager. That's a very posh title, that is. And welcome back, Pete. So Kate's going to take us through this, and then you guys are going to mop up, as they say, if there's anything left for you to say. Is that okay? Over to you, Kate.
Thank you, Leader. This paper is an improved version of the strategy, having gone before pre-decision scrutiny earlier this month. And so it's made a few bits more explicit, particularly our commitments around net zero and communication, which we'll go into. I think the first thing that I want to say about this strategy is that it's important that we recognise the opportunity that we have as a city. We've got Cy Bellamy come to us with a fresh pair of eyes and a new cabinet member who perhaps is not known for doing things the same way as others. And so we've now got a real opportunity to pause, reset, rethink and think about how this council operates. Because we know around this table better than anyone that local government just cannot continue the way that it is. Over the last decade and a half, the funding landscape for councils like ours has been fundamentally reshaped. Demand rising sharply, costs have soared, and the resources available to us have been squeezed year after year. And the result of that is that many councils across the country are at breaking point, many of them are on their knees. So we can't continue to stick plasters over gaping wounds and hope that somebody else is going to ride in and save us. We have to do it ourselves. So transformation is therefore not optional, it's essential. But transformation also has to mean something. I think too often in local government, the word has become shorthand for cuts and nothing more. And if all we do is dress up service reductions with a nicer label, then I think we've all failed as politicians and as people for this city. So the intention of this strategy is different. It's about reducing demand where we can, reducing costs where we must, and increasing the positive impact of our services to people in Plymouth. And that's particularly important when we look at the areas that now dominate our spending, the so-called Big Four: adult social care, children's services, SEND and temporary accommodation. If we can't change the trajectory in those four areas, the simple truth is that nothing else we do as a cabinet will matter financially. This is quite a technical document, but the outcomes it's trying to achieve are actually really simple. Better services for people in Plymouth and a council that can remain financially sustainable whilst delivering them. And that matters in cities like ours. I don't need to tell you, Leader, or the Cabinet how Plymouth is a city of huge potential, about our maritime history, our defence sector, world-class marine science, and a very ambitious growth agenda. But we are also a city where too many residents face poverty, poor health, or barriers to opportunity, and the demand that we see for our services reflects that every day. So when we talk about transformation, what we're really talking about is how we build a council that is capable of supporting a growing city whilst tackling inequality and improving outcomes for residents. And the strategy lays out the 5 key work streams, which I'll briefly go through because I think they are the core of this entire strategy. The first is around creating capacity and reducing costs. So we all know one of the starkest pressures on councils today is the cost of high cost placements, whether that's residential care, SEND or temporary accommodation. In many cases, local authorities are effectively trapped in a market where private companies are able to make significant profits from the care of vulnerable people whilst we pick up the bill, and that clearly isn't sustainable. So the first driver for our council must be about building our own capacity where appropriate, reducing reliance on expensive external provision and ensuring that public money is spent supporting people and not on profit margins. And we've seen that through the work that Councillor Lang has already started in children's services. The second work stream is operational effectiveness and service-led delivery. This includes reviews across areas like planning, highways, management and our arm's length companies. But the purpose should not be to restructure simply for the sake of restructuring. It's about making sure that we have the right skills, systems and operating model to meet the needs of a modern city. We know as politicians that residents' expectations are changing rapidly every day in this city. Technology is transforming the way that our services can be delivered, and we need to evolve our own workforce to evolve alongside that. So that means us investing in skills and training, including initiatives like the Digital Academy, so that our workforce has the tools and the confidence to operate in an increasingly digital environment. That does also mean embracing the opportunities presented by AI, which can help us to automate routine processes and analyse data a bit more effectively. But perhaps most importantly for me, as the lead for HR and OD, is about freeing up staff time so they can focus on the work that really requires human judgment and empathy. The third work stream, early intervention and prevention, is probably the one which speaks most closely to my own political values and likely others at the table today. It's never made sense to me at all that we spend huge sums of money trying to fix the consequences of problems that we could have solved in the first place, that we could have prevented in the first place. When people fall into crisis, whether that's family breakdown, homelessness, or escalating care needs, the human cost is enormous and the financial cost is often great too. Prevention is both the right thing to do and the smart thing to do. And we're already doing a lot of that work. So initiatives like the family hubs and partnership work through programmes like the Alliance are really important because they help us to intervene quicker, support families sooner, and reduce the likelihood that people will need more intensive and expensive services later on down the line. But prevention requires a cultural shift, and it means the entire council thinking differently about how we allocate resources across the system. And if we're serious about long-term sustainability, then that is a shift that everybody has to sign up to. The fourth work stream is innovation and test. So one of the challenges in large organisations like councils is the pressure of day-to-day service delivery, leaving very little space to try new ideas. So this work stream is about creating the space, allowing teams to pilot new approaches on a small scale, learn from what works, see what doesn't, and scale up the initiatives that do work. And finally, there are the corporate enablers, which are the projects that sit behind the scenes but make everything else possible. That includes improvements in our digital infrastructure, procurement, asset management, and workforce capability, as well as all of that wider stuff around data and digital tools to support our decision making. Because if our corporate systems are not fit for purpose, then it's impossible for us to manage the frontline services appropriately. Running through all of these streams is the importance of engaging with our own communities and our own workforce. Transformation will clearly only succeed if the people delivering services and the people receiving them understand what we're trying to achieve and feel part of that journey. So in closing, this strategy recognises something very important that we all know all too well. The pressures facing local government are real and they are not going away anytime soon. If we are going to build a council that is financially sustainable, capable of supporting a growing city and able to deliver better outcomes for the people of Plymouth, then we have to be willing to think differently, work differently, and embrace new ideas and technology. And that is what this strategy is all about. So hopefully that gives you a flavour, and I will allow Si and Pete to mop up on anything that I might have missed.
Thank you, Kate. So, has Kate left you anything to say, guys?
I'm only going to add to a couple of things that was very comprehensive. I think we just want to reinforce the whole council nature of the transformation. It was really key of delivering the strategy to have our kind of the scrutiny prior to today to make sure all parts of the council were involved in order to shape it. In order to do transformation well, you have to sustain it. And I just want to reinforce the importance of people and communication in delivering the strategy. It won't be static, it is going to be dynamic, and we've got to bring our whole team with us. So that's the whole council, all of our teams, full buy-in is going to be a work that we've got to sustain. The second thing as well with David Northey next to me and Councillor Lowry as well, is obviously this is an instrumental part of delivering against the medium-term financial plan. Transformation is not new to Plymouth City Council, but I think, yes, I've got fresh eyes, but also this is about an absolute direct link to the savings we have to deliver and the effectiveness we seek to achieve in delivering some of the whole system changes that I think are necessary. So this is also about making sure there is a clear link between our medium-term financial position and our delivery, and we're not misty-eyed over that. This is challenging, it's difficult, and all the team are up for delivering it on behalf of the people of Plymouth. And I think, finally, Councillor Taylor alluded to the fact that we've got to create capacity for this. So the part of link to the paper is we're not short of thinking in this organisation. We can do our thinking, but we've got to create the capacity to deliver the thoughts of the measures we want to put in place. So therefore, part of this is linked to delivery, but linked to creating capacity, involving some external partners potentially in the future. We need to get involved to help us get on with things, and certainly to build momentum in the early days of the programme. think they're my conclusions.
Pete, is there anything you'd like to add to? All good? That sounds fairly straightforward. Has anybody got any questions? Mark?
I think it's just relevant and understanding the governance arrangements that go along with this incredibly important programme. Perhaps you could set those out so we can understand them, please.
Yeah, of course. So the governance is going to be done through the corporate management team and particularly the change board. So again, linked to this, we're reforming the terms of reference for change board, and change board have a central position to approving particularly the business cases. So before something is taken into the transformation programme, there's a kind of a very strict review of business cases to make sure the return on investment is justified by our time and investment in a particular business case. So that's at the CMT level. Secondary to that, I think we'll be looking forward to bringing this back to routine cabinet meetings as part of portfolio holders reviews, but also routine financial reporting. We know there are clear targets that have been set for transformation from a financial perspective, and so we'll be looking forward to bringing those back as the business cases mature to be able to show those at cabinet, but also making sure we are on target for the things we seek to achieve. And if there's any challenges to that, we'll be transparent in setting those out. So our governance arrangements are structurally through change board, and then on a routine basis through our normal cabinet and monthly reporting through the financial systems.
Chair, we did also commit to taking this back to the individual projects back to scrutiny, but clearly we need to know what they are before we can shift them into their relevant scrutiny boards, but they will go back to scrutiny as well.
And will that be, in some cases, presumably post-decision scrutiny, and in others, pre-decision scrutiny? It'll be appropriate horses for courses.
Yeah, pre-decision wherever possible is always our preference, because actually this document was strengthened by us taking it to pre-decision scrutiny. I'm a big fan of pre-decision scrutiny, but we will have to take it as it comes.
I mean, the other thing to say, and I think it's important, because we've been using the T word forever, and we've had some stabs at it, and it's important to say that we are doing things differently from 5 years ago. We're doing things differently from 10 years ago, and we must never lose sight of the fact that the council has, I wouldn't use the phrase learning council lightly, but we have learnt lessons from all sorts of things, sometimes from successes, sometimes from mistakes, but actually, the point is we keep refining and looking at what we've done in order to get better. Well, this all seems very sensible and straightforward. Well, not straightforward, that's the wrong word. I think there's a C word in here as well, which is cynicism, right? So I guess, at some point, we need to understand that, we need people to go with us. And the staff and the unions are pivotal in that, to my manner of thinking. So it's going to be really pivotal that how we engage with union colleagues going forward if we're going to do some dramatic advancements in the way in which we go about our business, and I'm sure we will. All right. So today then, we have to approve the transformation strategy and its contribution to the medium-term financial plan, and to delegate authority to the Chief Operating Officer for the commencement of procurement, leading to subsequent appointment of single transformation delivery partner for phase 1, which is the diagnostic bit. Okay, all those in favour of that, please show. Thank you very much. That's carried unanimously. And thank you, Pete. Thank you, Si. And thank you, Kate, for that. The adventure starts here. We now move on to agenda item 6. And we're going to be joined by Zoe in a moment, aren't we? I think. Yeah, she's sitting there patiently outside. That's lovely. This is the Thriving Communities Framework 2026 to 2030. And we will be hearing from Chris, the portfolio holder, in a second, and then we'll have Zoe to say a few words as well, if Chris leaves her any headroom to do anything. We'll see, we're all anxious to see if this will work. Chris, over to you.
Thank you, Leader. And the headroom will depend on how many things are missing from the briefing notes that Zoe's given me. So, and thanks for the opportunity to come here. We've also, this is another thing that has been to pre-decision scrutiny, and we've spent some time there. We've also spent some time with partner organisations talking about this as we've developed the approach, because this isn't new. In fact, this is an updated framework. The previous one we approved here in Cabinet was in 2021 and was about empowering communities and was part of the COVID recovery process. So things have changed quite a lot since then. This programme is about how we work collectively with communities to create conditions that realise the potential of everyone, improve well-being, and shape a thriving, inclusive city. It draws together initiatives from across the council and partners under a common framework. The key things that are updated in this plan, we've thought carefully about the word empowering. That sounds like it's us to give power to other people. And that didn't sit comfortably with us, because actually we all know that people have power themselves. They have the ability to make decisions themselves. Sometimes they just need support to come together with others to be able to use that well. Sometimes they just need to realise they have the permission to do the things that are good. So we wanted to move away from that sort of control from us being given to something that was much more about how people thrive and do well, and how communities are sustainable and good places. So thriving communities is a recognition of that. It sits alongside the Thrive Plymouth programme, as well as aligning really closely to the work that's developing on building bridges to opportunity, which is about how the city as a whole tackles poverty, not just what we as a council do. And there's a whole load of work that Zoe's team and others are involved in bringing lots of people together to think about how we as a city tackle poverty. A renewed emphasis in this delivery framework is about supporting prevention and building community and household resilience. And so within this programme, the DWP's Crisis and Resilience Fund, which you signed the executive decision for receipt of last week, of £12.5 million over the next 3 years, sits within this. And that's a really positive piece of work. We have here prioritising and resourcing high quality community engagement to support effectively local led decision making as part of this. Now that can feed into local government reorganisation, it can feed into Pride in Place, it's informed our community's engagement and consultation framework, but it's also built very much on that asset-based community development approach with community builders amongst the communities that need most support in being resilient. And we're also seeking to align this with the NHS 10-year plan. That's a bit trickier because it is a bit harder sometimes to pin down exactly what they mean by a neighbourhood and what they're going to do. But we're trying to make sure that we're in a place to align so that we don't end up with duplication and we end up with really clever use of public resources, managing and tackling wider determinants of health as well as long-term health conditions. So we have here 5 delivery programmes, each supported with an action plan, which will be reviewed and reported on annually. There are internal steering groups and communities of practice supporting work within the council, and annual reports will be made available both to the Cabinet and to the Health and Wellbeing Board. In terms of governance, because I know Councillor Lowry likes that, this is being managed through portfolio session with me, as well as then reporting to appropriate scrutiny panels, and the Director of Public Health takes the CMT lead. I'd really like to emphasise that the Public Health Grant, NHS Fair Shares funding, the DWP Crisis Resilience Fund are the core funders of this, so it's not coming out of council core funding. In fact, I've got figures in front of me that show that this is about a £13.5 million programme over the coming 3 years, with a contribution of £35,833 from council core resources. I think by programming something like this and pulling things together, we're able to help show people that it's worth investing in us and that we can deliver well. And I think that's what this programme does. It's not just getting money in, but it's showing how in partnership we can make a change to the people of Plymouth. I would like to really give credit to Zoe and her team for the work that they've done on pulling this together, because it is quite interesting when you start talking about financial resilience, asset-based community development, volunteering, resilience and crisis and everything else all in the same place, because they are quite disparate, but they pull together here a really coherent approach to how we in the council can do things. Thank you.
Chris, that's smashing. Zoe, anything you'd like to add, please?
I think just to reiterate that it is a cross-council initiative and working really closely with our community partners. So we meet regularly with partners in the voluntary and community sector and local grassroots organisations. So it really is about what can happen on the ground in local communities, building on the assets that we have. So that's a really important part of how we want to deliver this.
Can I throw a little curveball in, as I'm wont to do on these occasions? But I mean, we've seen, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, this administration, you know, we're proud of Plymouth, and there's a Pride in Place programme now, isn't there, with at Devonport, Morristown. There's also St. Peter as well. I'm just wondering how this framework intends to work alongside those initiatives, and whether there's anything that they can learn from this and we can learn from them.
I think the first thing I'd like to say is this is not set in stone. It's been designed for partners to be able to work in with it. What's interesting, of course, is that we have a community builder based in Devonport and a community builder based in Barton. So in fact, we've already got people on the ground working with local communities to help communities identify what it is that they want and need to make their communities a better place. It'd be fair to say that family and wellbeing hubs are also part of that whole mix. In fact, Zoe convenes the networks around there in the voluntary and community sector. So I think what this does is it gives us a springboard to be able to do this really well, but to also make sure that we're tying back and reporting back so that we know what one bit's doing, rather than us all ending up duplicating. And I think for me, that was a key part of this, that we don't end up with 5 or 6 different projects all working on the same patches, and not actually doing it in ways that have best impact for local residents. Zoe will be able to tell you a little, I think, about how all of those networks work and the bit she's doing to help pull lots of people together, because that's the really key bit in this.
So what I was going to say was that I think there's something about lived experience in these neighbourhoods, and I think the relationships that we have, that the community builders have as well on the ground with local residents and grassroots organisations, actually brings much more intelligence to the way we might work in those neighbourhoods. So I think it's something about how do we bring that kind of data into the normal kind of statistical data we might use when we think about neighbourhoods and what happens in them. And as Chris said, you know, we have already got networks in those areas of bringing people together through the organisations that we work with locally, so that we can have those collaborative conversations, make decisions collaboratively with residents about what happens in those areas.
I think this is important to say that, you know, we're not talking about an assertion of power here, are we? We're not talking about control. What we're actually talking about is actually making sure that we add value to some of which has already been going on and has gone on for quite some time. That's important that everybody kind of gets that from the get-go, really. Brilliant. Okay, any other questions for Zoe or Chris? Mary?
It's not so much a question, Chair, but it's just the fact that they're going to be working with the Health and Wellbeing Board as we progress the neighbourhoods that the NHS is going to expect us to do. So it's really welcomed that, and I know Zoe comes yearly to the Health and Wellbeing Board, but I think we'll probably be picking her brain a bit more than that. Thank you.
Well, I mean, you know, the two of the areas that we've been talking about are areas that have been picked for a particular reason. And it's not because they've got the best health or the best life expectancy or the best quality of life, you know, and that's kind of one of the principal things that we want to see happen out of this. I mean, I know people are, you know, what can you do with 20 million quid in 10 years? The answer is a lot, actually, as long as you power up what power you already have in the community. And I think that's the idea. But for those areas of Plymouth that don't have that advantage of the 20 million quid in each, this framework will also be able to turbocharge activity that's already there by, as you say, lining up behind it rather than necessarily steering it in a different direction. It's quite powerful stuff. Okay, summing up, Chris, or have we said enough?
I think that last point, Leader, I just want to reflect in my own ward the work that's happened because of Zoe's team and community builders in building the Stonehouse Collective, which has really been shaping the way that the voluntary community sector and really grassroots community groups work together with statutory partners and education and faith groups to actually look at what does Stonehouse need and how can we do it together with what we've already got, as well as identifying then if we get more resources, how do we use them? So, you know, that sort of work, it's not just the big money places, it is other places, and we're beginning to see that. And the Stonehouse Collective pilot, I think we'll probably see more of that being replicated through the city over the next 3 years because of the way this framework's put together. So you're right there, it is about the whole city, not just about the Pride in Place communities being able to be turbocharged. So thank you.
Lovely. So the invitation is that we endorse the renewed approach to engagement set out in the framework here and the Year 1 action plan. Everybody happy with that? If so, please show. Thank you. Thank you once again, Zoe, and thanks for what you're doing all the time, actually, not just today for this. Brilliant. We'll now move on to item 8, I think. Oh no, item 7, sorry. Our commitment to equality, diversity and inclusion. We're joined by Councillor Angela Penrose. Welcome, Angela. We'll be hearing from you in a sec. Am I expecting an officer online? Ah, there we are, there we are. Is that Sarah? Hello?
Yes,
Yes.
hello.
Okay, so item 7, our commitment to EDI, and I'm going to start again with Chris, and then we'll hear a bit from you, Angela, if you don't mind, and Sarah, if you two have left her anything to say. Over we go.
Thank you, Leader. Once again, thank you to Sarah for the notes that I'm working from today. And this is once again something that we have discussed with scrutiny. We have a legal responsibility to, under the Public Sector Equality Duty, to provide an annual report and action plan. And so we are, in some ways here, doing what is statutorily required, but there's more than just statutory requirement here. It is something much more, because the diversity of our city is something that we're immensely proud of, and it's one of our greatest strengths. And diversity isn't just about where someone in the world comes from or what faith they have. It's also about people being recognised, acknowledged and supported in terms of disability, in terms of age, in terms of gender, in terms of sexuality. Actually, it's protected characteristics supports pregnant women. There are all sorts of areas where people are discriminated against, which the legislation protects people as well as supports them to do well. And here in Plymouth, on top of those protected characteristics, we have added care experience, thanks to the work that Jemima's done. So this is a 2010 Equalities Act obligation, but when you read the report, you see that this is much more than that. The report talks just about some of the things we've done as a council, and we realised when we were looking at the report on the action plan, in fact, the council has done way, way more. Business as usual within the council is about supporting people of diverse backgrounds and doing amazing things. And this report, we've actually added that section in this time. In fact, that section is almost bigger than the section within our action plan. And I'd like to pay credit to all of the council officers who've made that the case, because what you see in the report is people across the council saying this really matters. There are, however, some really clear things in here within the things we guaranteed to do, or we said we wanted to do, that I think are worth celebrating. Firstly, I would like to say that the work that Jemima and her team on treating care experience as if it were a protected characteristic, there is amazing work in there, not just within the city, and the difference that makes to our care experienced young people, but also the work that we're doing as national leaders in this, and my tribute to Jemima on that. The work we've done with partner organisations, sitting people around tables with us, talking about what they're doing in their organisations, how we share good practice and how we support key organisations in the city to work well together and to learn from what we've had gone on in the city in recent years, especially the riots of 24 and the disquiets, to put it at a very mild term, in terms of behaviour of some people in the city since last summer. Being rated outstanding in a recent CQC adult social care inspection on how we work with people about equity and experience and outcomes, grounded in the work that those teams are doing with a strong focus on inequalities, targeting high deprivation communities and community-led initiatives and co-production being embedded across programmes. The support to our young people through our community youth service and to our older residents through Ageing Well, and promoting accessibility and equality of opportunity across our local transport network. You know, this is really cross-cutting in all of this. We're halfway through the delivery of our action plan. I would like to thank not only Jemima, but the work that has been done on tackling hate crime, which Sally Hayden's been leading, and the work on our own HR and organisational development, originally with Sudan and now with Kate Taylor. This is really cross-party working, and just in terms of that final one, a big tribute to Tilly and the Neurodiversity Network, who not only did something for their own staff network members last week, but hosted a citywide event here with a morning for people involved in organisations and an afternoon open to the public, where not our support to that staff network is having a big ripple impact. So this is our report. I think there's loads in here to celebrate. I'd like to thank everyone who's been involved in doing that, because it is a real council-wide thing, and especially thanks to Sarah, who tries to herd all the cats and get everything pulled together in a way that we can celebrate it. This is all in our terms about being a welcoming city, a place where everyone can live, work and enjoy themselves and have a good quality of life. And that welcoming city work is really quite broad, and I would like to thank Angela for the work she does as our welcoming city champion. And if I hand over to her, she might well have some reflections on some of the things she's experienced this year and some of the work we've been doing.
Thank you, Chris. Nice to see you, Angela. Welcome. What have you got to tell us?
Right. Hello, everyone. The first thing I'd like to say is how proud I am to be associated with this. I think what you've got in front of you is a wonderful document that has taken a while to build up. And obviously it's due to, as Chris has just said, to many, many people's efforts. It's not one person. But I would like to again thank Caroline Marr and Sarah and Lucy, and obviously particularly Chris. It's been an absolute experience that I really value to work with them and build it up over the last year, well, more than a year. So, but also it's, you know, when you look at the way other people look at some of these issues and say, oh, we're going to cut the funding for that. Well, there is no funding for this. There's no budget. This is what people of a like mind are doing by working together and believing in something and realising by coming together with partners that we can do an enormous amount in the city. Chris has reflected on some of our roundtables, but we also have a small team of critical friends who come and talk to us sometimes and give us really valuable insights about what's going on in the city. And we all know since those riots in August, it hasn't been comfortable. And so it's very valuable to have some people who can talk off the record and fill us in on how communities are genuinely feeling. And as I said, I think we're extraordinarily fortunate to have Chris in the lead. Sarah may herd the cats, but Chris is really taking the lead. And I'd like to just mention one thing. Exactly a month ago when, as you recall, it was 4 years since the invasion of Ukraine, and the Ukrainian community here put on a wonderful evening in the university of their cultural events. But they came together outside earlier on to sing their national anthem and recite poetry and talk to each other. It's not a formal event, but Chris was there and they saw him and they asked him to come and speak. And he just said what was needed, that obviously we all hope that you will get back to your own country as soon as you possibly can. But in the meantime, you're here, you're in Plymouth, you're welcome, and so this is your home. So I think just to have that is such a tremendous asset. So I go to some community events with Chris, I go to some on my own. We try to keep things going. We're regulars at the monthly international dinner in Sherwell Church, where you have an amazing number of nationalities come cook together and eat together and share their culture. So I'm looking forward to continuing this. It's been a great privilege, and I really think we are, a lot of people are working to ensure it is a fair and welcoming city.
Thank you very much indeed. You were mentioning dispatches there, Sally. I wondered, is there anything you want to bring to the party here?
I just really picking up where people have talked about the riots. I think it's really important just to mention about how we organised a drop-in event where people could discuss the protests, local unrest and emerging worries. These spaces have helped to de-escalate anxiety and promote the constant dialogue, to keep dialogue going. We've had listening events and things like that. There's been a lot of work, and the community safety team, champion like for the Respect Festival and everything like that. So there's some, behind every piece, there's some really good work going on. And, it goes without saying, we have our Hate Crime Awareness Week as well once a year. And that also strengthens things and explains to people about third-party reporting as well. You might not be comfortable about reporting it, but somebody else could report it on your behalf and explain how that can be done, which is really important. So I'd just like to say well done to everybody involved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sally. Sarah, anything from your end?
No, nothing for me to add, thank you.
Okay, well, Chris, is there anything you want to say in summary?
No, just once again, that message to everyone out there that actually we value the differences that make Plymouth the great city it is. Our tapestry is a rich tapestry because it tightly binds together lots of different lived experiences, lots of different traits and personalities. And the more we do to build that rich tapestry, the stronger we become as a city. That's why this matters. And I would like to thank everyone who's part of creating that tapestry. This is just a snapshot of some of the things the council's done. What is underneath that is enormous activity across communities in the city, with volunteers and people with lived experience giving their time and effort to make Plymouth a better place for all of us. And I'd really just like to thank everyone who's been part of that in the last year, and I look forward to working on it for the next year. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much indeed. I think the words that Alison used there were particularly well put, and you know, it's really important if a city of our size is aspiring to greatness. You know, we build that on a city that is ease with itself, don't we? I mean, that's the foundation stone of that. And we've been like that for a very long time indeed. So let us keep pushing on. I've been particularly impressed by the staff networks as well and the contribution that they're making. And I just want to make clear to HR that it's really important. Although we might not be spending money, we're spending time, and we'll continue to do that. And that's essential to us, that the city council as an employer makes that perfectly plain, so that we have the richest variety of people working for us that we can have as well. But this paper is not just about the council, as you say, it's about the city as a whole, and the drumbeat that we're trying to set out here. Chris, thank you for your work on this as well. I know it's very much appreciated by all our communities in the city. Angela, thank you for your time today. So the recommendation is on page 29 of your papers. Can I ask you to endorse the report for publication, please? All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much indeed. We will now move on. We have item number 9, which I think. Oh, sorry, I keep moving ahead. Item number 8. Sorry about that. Which is on pages 47 to 68. And we've got Mary Aspinall here, as always, who will speak to this report. And oh, yes, we got Paul and Nick, which is fabulous. Thank you very much. So between the three of you, you should get something out of this. So this is called Healthy Weight Declaration. I was explaining to some colleagues earlier on today that I've discovered that although I am now the same weight as I was, I've shrunk. So I don't know what I can do about that. Perhaps you could tell me. But seriously, Councillor Aspinall, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Leader. We'll have to get you some of those shoes that have got built up, won't we, to make it. As Cabinet Member for Health and Adult Social Care, I'm pleased to present this briefing on the re-adoption of the Local Authority Declaration of Healthy Weight. Living with excess weight is known to increase the risk of poor health outcomes. We already know that living with excess weight is an issue for many people throughout England, and Plymouth is no different. To support our effort to reduce inequalities and create a healthier city for our residents, in 2019, Plymouth City Council adopted the Food Active Healthy Weight Declaration. The declaration provides a framework for local authorities to lead action and demonstrate good practice in adopting a systems approach to promote healthy weight and overall good health and well-being in communities. It works to address the social, environmental, economic and policy factors that influence lifestyle choices and behaviours, with a special focus on healthy weight. Since adoption by Plymouth City Council, Food Active have updated the declaration to reflect changes in the evidence base, in national policy and in the food systems landscape. This report provides an overview of progress made against the original declaration and identifies further opportunities to pursue once the declaration is formally re-adopted by Cabinet. I support the recommendations set out in this briefing and present it to Cabinet colleagues for discussion and approval.
Thank you indeed, Mary. So, this is 7 years old since we last did it. You're going to tell us about progress, or what are you going to tell us about today?
Yeah, there's been quite a bit of notable progress since we first adopted it back in 2019. Of note is the introduction of planning policy, restricting the opening of takeaways within 400 metres of secondary schools. We've also, as a council, introduced a healthier advertising policy to help support our own advertising estate, to promote health enabling messaging, I suppose. And there's been the establishment of wellbeing champions within Plymouth City Council and in other organisations through our partner organisation, Live Well Southwest. We hope that really this updated declaration will help to continue that work that's already been done, as well as taking action on some of the new areas that have been identified within the 16 new commitments, of which I suppose the one that stands out to me is around the net zero agenda and how the food that we sort of grow, consume, and our diets can help mitigate the effects of climate change.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Nick, anything from you?
No, I don't think I've got anything in particular to add. I think this is just it's a good opportunity for us to actually recommit as a council to kind of looking at the environment and our own actions as a supporter of healthy weight, both for our staff and the wider actual population. So I think this is an excellent opportunity for us in terms of that. Thank you.
I mean, obviously, you know, we particularly focused on health and wellbeing around this cabinet table. We've backed, you know, the recent improvements with Plymouth Active Leisure, for example, and the investment we're making in facilities around the place. Obviously, welcoming, you know, the spread of gyms and accessible health. But I noticed what you say about food outlets next to schools. But I mean, the prevalence now is, I don't know, I'm old enough to remember when you fancied a takeaway, you had to go and either go on a bus or walk to a takeaway and buy one and then bring it home. Now you get somebody on a bike doing it. They're getting all the benefits of cycling and you're getting all the calories of the takeaway. So how do we combat that in public health terms? What can we do anything about that?
That's a great question with not an easy answer. However, I think that it is around trying to create a health enabling environment and cultural change as well. If you look at other, I suppose, other countries and how their society is built and structured and works, maybe going for a takeaway isn't that, well, you might have to go for a takeaway, even if they are a normal thing to do, as opposed to clicking a button, well, not even a button, clicking a screen, and like you say, somebody brings it to you on two wheels. So there are actions that can be taken. I think some of that is at a very large whole systems policy level. And really the Healthy Weight Declaration is trying to provide us as a council with a framework to take the action that we have within our own remit, whether that be through planning restrictions, whether it be through public campaigns or other things that may come out through the process of coming up with an action plan to actually implement these commitments going forwards.
Sally.
It's more a comment, really. I really welcome the commitment of 5, which is regarding restricting development of hot food takeaways near secondary schools. And the reason why I say it, as a St Budo councillor in a very, very small area on St Budo Square, I think we've got about 7 in total. I think we can have every pizza and every takeaway you fancy in that booklet. So I really welcome that. And from an events portfolio holder point of view, it's been nice to see how when we're having events in the city, all that different range of more healthier foods being advertised as well. So just really welcome it, to be honest, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sally. John.
Thank you. I welcome this document as well. And on point 10, commitment 10 at the back, where we, for next steps, I welcome the fact that there's synergy across the council as well. So there's mention there about linking public health and strategic planning. In the coming months, we're taking part in a pilot which has wayfinder posts in the Prince Rock St Jude's area to guide people to walk along the embankment or through Saltram. And on that, they'll be indicating how long it would take if you walk, an average walker or a cycle. And when we agreed to try this pilot, we also brought in the fact, okay, let's get Plymouth involved to tackle or provide opportunities to people in those areas who don't tend to go out for a walk. It could be for physical health, it could be social isolation and so on. So by involving Plymouth, we're planning to have group walks to guide some people from that area along these wide wayfinder routes, so that actually we'll inspire them to do it themselves sometimes. But equally, there is that opportunity then to link with public health to see what is the impact of this. Do you get people referring a social prescription and so on, prescribing to maximise the use of these wayfinder and pathfinder routes?
Does it tell you how many steps I'll do? I take that walk.
No, but you can find that out yourself. But equally, when we work it out, to go for a walk through Saltram, if that was the case, it's the equivalent of, for residents in much of that area, to walk into town and back as well. And that might be something that they might not have stepped out, so to speak, in the past. So it'll improve physical health, but also mental health through social inclusion, amongst others. So I welcome this report and the synergy across council departments.
Sally.
Just want to pick up on that joined up approach because and I'm sure Councillor Bryersdale was going to talk about this at length later on. But we went to Mount Edgecombe with Riverside Primary and the National Marine Park on Thursday last week, and I think there's two things there. I think there's this importance of children having those experiences, those active experiences, those experiences in terms of their physical activity, and also I would say the kind of awe and wonder experiences, all those things which are really important for their mental, their physical development, their gross motor skills, which is really important in terms of keeping a healthy weight, because it means to say that they are being active and doing things rather than spending too much time on screens and such. And I just want to have a little thing that I'd throw in there as well is talking about some of the experiences some of our children have had in terms of cooking experiences and actually making their own fish fingers and being surprised at these come from actual wet fish and actually having the experience of touching and feeling and such those wet fish, and then actually making your own fish finger sandwich that you can eat at the end. So thank you very much for indulging me in that, and this is absolutely fantastic, great work, well done.
Lovely. What we'd like perhaps is to have a bit more of a update. I mean, I know, like, how long is a piece of string before you say, oh, we've had this success. But I mean, I think, as you say in the report, we set off in 2019 with all sorts of great targets and what have you. And then we had a pandemic, which then meant more people sat at home eating takeaways. Well, no, they couldn't eat takeaways, but you know what I'm saying. And so, like a lot of things, we've done well to maintain progress despite that. And so it'll be interesting to see how you get on now with a clear run, fingers crossed, right? But perhaps you want to come back here and give us an update at an appropriate interval to let let us know some of the problems you've been encountering or things you've overcome so that we can get a sense of how it's working in practice. Mary?
Leader, can I just say commitment 3, obviously we're going to have to readjust the wording in that after the summer because it will be more different catering companies, etc., working with schools, so we need to do that. And the thing about the exercise, of course, if you have a disability, it's a bit more difficult. You can't go for that lovely walk and whatever, but Meadow View, when it's online, will have those bikes that people with disabilities can use. And to me, that's then they're going to have join in and go around the Hoe and things like that, or rather park rather. And of course, there's also another branch of the disability bikes and scooters and whatever down at the Brickfields. And I was interested to watch that going round and round on the track there. So there's ways that we can make sure that people with disabilities aren't feeling left out on this. Thank you, Chair.
Fabulous. Okay, so the recommendations are on page 47. Any summing up that you need to do, Mary? I think all okay.
No, Leader, I'm quite happy. I think people have had the opportunity to put contributions in, and thank you to Nick and Paul.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. So recommendations 1, 2, 3 and 4, I'll put them all to you at once. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. Thank you both very much for coming today, and good luck. I'll let you know I get on with the growing as well. I just think that might be a little bit more challenging. Righty-ho. I'm gonna, as I keep getting the numbers wrong, I'm gonna double check before yes, number 9. Indeed. I believe an old Beatles song. We now go to item number 9, where a little recitation from Councillor Lowry on a bit of myth busting, I think. Over to you.
Mr. Chair, I think you're going to maybe draw some slides for me.
I am definitely trying. I've plugged the laptop in and
Okay. The anticipation of it all.
Better be good, because this feels a little bit like the Conservative Party local election launch at the moment. Well, if not, Councillor Lowry could do it through the medium of dance. I'd just say to side, transformation.
Chair, perhaps. Chair, let's go on to item number 10 and we'll come back to this item.
Jamie's going to do it, but here we are. Jamie's got it, I think. There we are.
Okay. Okay, so anticipation. So you asked me to give Cabinet an overview on our capital programme to sort of myth bust, as you said, because comments have been made by some councillors as to everything's over budget and everything's late. And that's not true, and I just thought I'd provide you with some facts to help address those comments. So in slide 2, you will see that we're kind of talking about some 285 individual projects over the 5 years. It refers to 11 primary outcomes, and those just give you some examples of things like net zero, homes in the city, transportation in the city, improving neighbourhoods and community infrastructure. So there's an awful lot of stuff in our capital programme. As I said, there's some 285 individual projects. That's a lot of projects for us to be managing as a council. It's not just the 1 or 2 that we get to hear about sometimes in the news. That's a lot of stuff to do. And as you can see, the figure in managing that is quite substantial. The current programme is showing some facts some £327.3 million. And as you often hear me say, not all of that's funded by the council. In fact, 56% is being funded external to the council through other mechanisms. So it's not all about us putting taxpayers' money forward. Slide number 3, please. And that's just to show you that against each of the directorates, we manage the risk performance and the reg rating, which is a red, amber, green rating, against project delivery, financial delivery, capital governance, and programme. And of course, our projects are affected from time to time because things do happen. Sometimes they're of our own making. We get to find things when we're doing some digging, which is like a bomb, and that delays. But also there are external events that take place in the marketplace. I mean, even today, you know, we're seeing the price of crude oil going up $16 a barrel and then coming down $10 a barrel. All of that has an impact, of course, on the cost and the delivery. Next slide, please. And that's just some detailed facts, of course. Some 26 projects within our current 5-year programme have already been completed. 79% of the live projects are currently meeting their original milestones or are on budget. And this rises to 95% when we include those projects that have some very minor delays. When we refer to minor delays, we talk about plus or minus some 5%. Next slide, please. Also, we often talk about these projects, but we don't actually promote them when people see them in and around our city. So I just wanted to give you some examples of things that we will start to do in the future to highlight this taxpayers' money that is being spent in our city and how we can explain to people what's actually happening, please. So next slide. A Mile Away, a project very close to my heart. And as you keep hearing me say when I refer to A Mile Away, most importantly, it's on time and on budget. But here's an example of us doing some good things, explaining to everybody about what's happening in and around A Mile Away. Next slide, please. And the Civic outside here today, you've seen the hoardings that have been put around the Civic. They explain the nature of this project. And you often see people walking past and taking the time to read them very carefully and see what's planned for the city. Next slide, please. And Mayflower House, as the leader mentioned at the very beginning of this meeting, these 2 buildings that you see within that slide will shortly be demolished. And with Homes England and ourselves, we'll be bringing forward an exciting new housing development there. And once again, these hoardings explain what we're proposing to do. We need to do more of this. So everywhere there is a development taking place by Plymouth City Council, we need to put up hoardings like this, and we need to explain to people what's happening and the reason why. Next slide, please. So, in addition to that, we're also increasing our digital displays and at bus stops and freestanding digital displays around the city. So, throughout our bus stop contract, we receive 5% of all the advertising revenue across our 80 digital channels. So, we'll be using these to present 10 different adverts running one at a time. And that's equivalent to some 520 weeks worth of paid advertising. Next slide, please. And there's some examples of our future citywide digital campaigns. Next slide, please. So, this also frustrates me. I was sat in a traffic jam the other day and I had no reason to understand why I was sat there. All it said was roadworks, you know, nothing more than that. And actually, there are a lot of instances where we are doing works and we're not explaining to people what they're doing. So all we're doing is all just sat in a queue, not understanding the reasons why. So next slide, there's some examples here of one for roads, some examples on new crossings coming. And next slide, please, and some examples on some cycling work. So I think I'm going to work very carefully with the Cabinet Member for Transport, because I think I'd like to see one saying pothole being repaired as well, because we often disrupt people when we're doing these repairs. and we don't explain to them why the road's closed or the reasons why they're being delayed. So we should do an awful lot more of that. And the next slide, please. So there's a conclusion there which hopefully gives you some reassurance that we do have a very ambitious programme. We're investing in new jobs, new homes, new infrastructure. We are growing our city and we're making local improvements to parks, play areas and community facilities. And we're investing in roads and transport. These projects are in many instances incredibly complex. They take an awful lot of time and effort, and of course we've got to work with partners. But I just wanted to reassure you that contrary to what you hear from time to time, the vast majority of our projects being delivered by officers on behalf of this council and sometimes partners are very successful, and they have a tremendously positive impact on people's lives. And as I've said, 96% of them are generally on budget, but from time to time, they do go wrong, sadly, and we have to learn from those mistakes when they do happen. But a majority of what we do is an incredibly successful programme, and we should be very proud of those who help us deliver it. Thank you, Chair.
Well, I was a very good summary of where we actually are, and a sense of frustration, I think, that the totality of what we've actually got underway here isn't better appreciated. Certainly, I think you cited the opposition on the council, who are the greatest bunch of miserabilists it's ever been my pleasure to actually encounter. But more important than their attitude is the inaccuracy of what they're saying and the implication that the council isn't making progress, because you've just illustrated exactly what is going on. And it would be nice from time to time if they acknowledge the hard work of officers rather than trying to score cheap points. See, when they do this stuff, they're not doing the Labour Party down, they're talking the city down. You know, that's the thing that gets me. You know, the city is improving dramatically, and, you know, we all as citizens actually take great pleasure in seeing things getting better. And I'm fed up of this relentless negativity. Let's be honest. I mean, those people, all they want to do is win an election. And having seen them in action when they previously run the authority, I can't say I'm looking forward to that glorious day coming back anytime soon. One of the reasons we had a problem with the Marder Way was because of the activities of that previous administration, wasn't it? So, you know, hey-ho. But what I would say is, I think it's a message to officers now is, these aren't aspirations here about the signage, they're demands, actually. We're spending a lot of taxpayers' money, as Mark said, on projects. And like every other organisation that exists that's spending money, they want you to know that they're improving the area. So why are we accepting ourselves from that? We shouldn't. So let's make that so, and let's make that happen really quickly. Not something we do in a month or two, or, you know, the time is now. We're spending the money now. Mary and I went up to Meadowview to see the sign they put up there, and I've seen better signs, I think it's fair to say, and larger signs too. I mean, considering how much money we're spending up there on that project and how pioneering it is, it's almost like an apology, that sign, isn't it? And it could be better. I mean, that visit we did to Meadowview and to see the work that dumb contractors are doing up there is amazing. And what they've been battling with on fields up at Central Park for 53 days. I mean, it's biblical. They've had rain on 53 days solid. And the fact they've got anything out of the ground there is a blooming miracle. But what they have achieved there is remarkable. And we're looking forward to going back in later on in the year and seeing it when it's finished. But that's one example of where we've had adverse weather conditions and how that has impacted on us. And always will. But I'm glad you've brought that stuff to our attention. And on that list of projects, I think it'd be useful if we published that list of projects that you've just shown there. The chart with all the rags on, because it gives people a sense of the totality of what is being achieved at the moment, if that's all right. Any questions for Mark any underlying statements? A couple. First to you, Jemima, and then
It's
John.
not a question for Mark really, but having the comms portfolio on the council, I suppose I wanted to say that the team are really on this about the signage, and I think, you know, any kind of progress when you're making the omelette, you know, there are eggs that get broken, and while it's in the pan cooking, I think the more information that we can give the public about why, I think about, you know, why they might be delayed. For instance, I think about the Ford Hill crossing in my ward in Stoke. We know that that's what our residents want and they've wanted for years, and we finally got it. But if you're stuck in that queue coming up Ford Hill or coming down Devonport Road, you might be frustrated. But actually, if you knew it's because a long-awaited crossing is coming, then you might take your delay in your stride a bit more kind of generously, because those eggs have been broken for a reason, and the omelette's going to be worth it in the end.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, similar to Jemima, I was just it's going to go on the portfolio agenda for next time, please, Andy. But it is about improving, you know, and because if people see roadworks, they think, oh, it's a problem. They just think about the here and now, which can be frustrating. But actually, the outcome is we're improving your parks, improving your crossings, making the streets safer for our children. It's given a powerful message why we're doing the work, and often it's proactive as well as reactive. You know, it's intentional rather than just a repair job. So it's trying to get that snappy wording right would be really helpful.
Okay. Well, I think we've covered the bases. They're really good stats there, though, Mark. And you know, I think, like you say, 95% of our stuff is going very well indeed. Thank you very much. And that would be a surprise to a number of people who, if they take their news from social media, would think we're only doing about 3 things. I mean, the other thing that annoys is people saying you must finish one thing before you start another. In an organisation that's running a city for 270,000 people, I don't think that would work very well, to be frank with you. But thanks for the advice. But some things take a long time to do, and some things take a very short time to do. What we have got is a lot on because we're ambitious for the city, and we want to make some progress. Anyway, thank you very much, and we'll note that update from Councillor Lowry and look forward to further reports in due course. I'm now going to move on. Is it item 10?
It is item 10.
Marvellous. We're just going to drag Graham in a moment, I think, to speak to us. But quite an exciting report coming up on Future Libraries Plan, which is on supplement pack pages 47 to 58. Now, we did mention the opposition a minute ago, but when the Conservatives brought their Future Libraries Plan to us, I think it was it 10 years ago? Not even that. It was a closure plan. Do you remember it? When they were going to close virtually over half the libraries in Plymouth. And we fought that off, I think, didn't we? I'm hoping you're not going to say that to me today. We shall see. Graham, welcome. I'm going to ask Sally to introduce the report, then the Future Libraries Plan update. Over to you.
Thank you, Leader. As the portfolio holder for libraries, it gives me great pleasure to present a briefing paper about the Future Libraries Plan, a practical and forward-looking programme of work to secure a modern, sustainable library service for Plymouth. Libraries remain one of our most trusted public services, supporting literacy, learning, digital access and community wellbeing. But over recent years, due to financial pressures and changing patterns of use, have made it incredibly difficult to maintain a level of service our residents expect. The briefing paper set out currently thinking about new service delivery methods by bringing specialised council and partners staff into our library buildings, enabling residents to access more services in one place, delivered by trained professionals. Enabling the library staff to focus on what they do best, promoting reading, running activities and supporting local communities. The first step in this work is for the Efford Wellbeing Hub pilot being launched at Efford Library in April, which will extend library opening hours and test a shared service approach. What we learn from Efford will directly shape improvements and influence the development of plan. Over the coming months, we will engage closely with both staff and the public. These sessions will help us refine the plan, ensuring that proposed changes are suitable and delivery and generally beneficial to residents in their community. Our aim is for the library's team to complete the plan and bring it forward to Cabinet's consideration in summer. What I would like to reassure you, Leader, is when you read the briefing paper, you will see that no libraries will be closing, but what you will see is more services being offered, which will allow better opening and access to our residents of Plymouth. And just before we hand over to Graham, Leader, I just want to welcome Graham, because this is Graham's first time to Cabinet. And hopefully he'll see it's a very friendly place. And not to be nervous.
Thank you, Sally. Yeah, I've bitten
Like
all my
I always
fingernails. Now you're all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. You can turn your microphone off now if you like. Thank you. Graham, welcome to your first meeting of the Cabinet. We're a friendly bunch in here.
Thank you. You are.
And we look forward to what you've got to say.
Thank you. I'd really like to just start off by thanking you all, actually, for your support of libraries, particularly the support we've had from Councillor Hayden, which has been instrumental to me since I was appointed and achieved this post. So thank you very much, and we will miss you greatly, Sally, I will say that, because actually it's been from my portfolio holding meetings with you, Sally, when we've met together, that actually lots of the discussion we've had is fed into this thought for the new plan. And actually, looking at libraries across the city, we have 11 wonderful resources around the city, of which so many are only actually open for 12 hours a week at the moment. And Leader, we really want to ensure that all residents in this city can make more use of their local library. By that footfall, not only will they benefit from additional library services, hopefully, but accessing those specialised services within their community too, making those libraries the council front door, effectively. That's what I would love to see within every community in this city. So that if you want to apply for your blue badge or you have a council tax query, instead of picking up the phone, which doesn't work for all of our residents in the city, they love to speak to somebody face to face. We can really benefit from the trusted space that a library offers and provide that support. As Councillor Hayden mentioned, we're running a pilot now, or we will be from the 1st of April. I can confirm that with you right now. From the 1st of April, the pilot we're working with Bernardo's actually at Efford to further their own work for a family and wellbeing hub within the library and the youth centre. The library itself will become the predominant hub, and by that we're able to open the library from Monday to Friday from at least 11 o'clock till 4 o'clock, but the pilot will enable us to see how that works and whether we can extend that even further.
Well, that's quite exciting, actually. Now, unfortunately today is the start of PERDA at 6 o'clock, the
Yes.
pre-election period, and we can't tell anybody about anything. Now this isn't business as usual. I've been opening a library, so I presume it's covered by PERDA.
Yes, this is business as usual for us, so we'll be opening the library. It's a very soft pilot, actually. It's as much a chance for us to work out how this is going to work on a larger scale for us.
Yeah.
And alongside this, I've had confirmation this afternoon, both from Liz and from Ellie, that we can begin a more thorough sort of conversation with our library customers. Nothing in depth. It's not a consultation because we're not at that point. But we really want to ensure through conversation that actually our future plan is something that users want. We don't want to impose something that we think, oh, you might really want this, but actually we don't know for sure. So we're really keen to ensure that we speak with as many of our current users and ideally non-users as well, to find out why they don't currently come in, and what we can do for them as well.
Well, I look forward to seeing you at the 1st of April event, Sally, given the fact that you're not a candidate in the election and it's business as usual. That should be all right.
Yep.
So good luck to you. Now, this is really quite exciting, isn't it? To be honest with you, because, I mean, you know, for me, like going to the library with my dad we used to go on a Saturday morning when I was a kid, you know. And I mean, the thing is that there are too many of our libraries where you can't do that. I mean, we've got libraries, but you can't go, you know, at a time that's always convenient. So hopefully this strategy will allow us to perhaps do more of that in the future.
Definitely. I mean, I think one of the key aspects to this is that libraries, of course, as well we know, have to be open at the time when people want to use us. And I think that's a part of the situation that we've got into now, where half of our libraries are only open for daytime hours when people are either at work or children are at school. And so we can't always reach out to those people who want to access our service. And like you, Lida, I remember when I was a child going to the library on a Saturday morning, and I really am so passionate about this because I started out working in libraries when I did my work experience from school. I was at Plymouth School and I started in Central Library, age 15. And, you know, this actually creates me an even greater passion. I mean, library work is such a vocational role and we care so much about the people that we serve. And I'm so enthused by this opportunity because we've got a chance now. We're not closing libraries, thanks to your help and support. We're not here saying we're going to close any libraries. And this is the most exciting opportunity we've had in years. So I'm saying bring it on.
Lovely, Graham. Thank you. And it's great to have your passion for this. And I mean, there isn't anything greater than a love of reading. And the sooner you can kind of inveigle that into some young person's hands, the better. John, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I'm glad you're so grateful about the passion you have for libraries, because when I was a little boy, you were just told to shh if you expressed any passion or delight in a book you opened, or banned if you had to shh. And you mentioned Plymouth. I'll give a shout out for Plymouth Library as well, because that's part of the estate of libraries in the city, obviously. How versatile it is in having different craft markets, children's events. The cafe does well there. And hopefully, I'd love to find out about the patronage of library usage there as well, how that changes. I also am thrilled with what Plimpton Library have done under your leadership and Sally's guidance and passion, in that they open one day a week for a banking hub. That's really important because, as you say, not everyone can. Some people need face-to-face facilities, and banking is a precious thing to some people, not wanting to do it online and so on, or not have somebody to advocate for them. So I'm pleased that there's an opportunity to explore a banking hub a day a week in Plymouth, where there is no bank there as well. And we have to remember, the public need to remember that banks are closed for commercial reasons, nothing to do with the City Council. But what the Labour Council is doing, though, is facilitating a banking provision for residents in its assets. So I really welcome that news that's going to be explored.
Thank you.
And thanks for all you're doing.
I mean, this is very much, again, in the spirit of what we're hoping the new future libraries plan to be. I should say that the banking hub at Plimpton is incredibly successful. We've had well over 1,000 extra people, if you like, through the door, particularly to access the banking hub there. And actually, we've been told by Santander already that it's their biggest banking hub in the southwest, so, or the busiest rather. So that's really great for us, and we've got a lot of benefit off that. And yes, we're particularly looking at how we can roll that model out further around the city, Plymouth particularly so. Thank you. Thank you.
Chris.
Thank you, Leader. Before I get on to the bit I wanted to mention from my portfolio, I'll join in the love for libraries. I remember the old Pounds House Library. I still have on my shelf at home my 1971 green leather gilt embossed Good Readers Circle 1,000 Points Award, and I still have on my bookshelf some of the books that I won for summer challenges when they were the weekly quizzes. Libraries matter, and actually my local hero was the librarian who gave me a shelter from being bullied, who gave me somewhere I could go after school, where I could be safe. And my love of reading wasn't only because of my parents, it was because he guided me out of the children's library into the adults' library and made sure I was reading safely. And I went to university and I trained to be a librarian, and my first job was at Plymouth Library as the senior assistant. So long time ago, but actually I know how important libraries are, and I know the longer hours are really important. Yes. And I know, both as a child, but then as a librarian, those evenings and Saturdays make a real difference. So as a member of the public, I welcome that. From my personal memory of history, I welcome that. But as a council, we pay for 11 library buildings to be there. And if they're only open for 2 days a week for a few hours, that's actually an enormous waste of our resources. Yes. And if we're going to talk about communities that thrive, we need to find spaces that communities can use, that services can operate from. So both from a corporate property perspective, as well as from a thriving communities perspective, I think that this plan offers real excitement and opportunity that we should be capitalising on fully to make full use of the assets and ensure they bring maximum benefit to communities at the same time, as well as being brilliant for library users, because we need more passionate library users for generations to come.
Indeed we do. Next up, Sally Cresswell.
I just want to share with you this morning, when we opened that west side section of Armada Way, I was introduced to Captain Read-a-Lot.
Find-a-Lot, yes.
Captain Find-a-Lot, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, with all his many eyes, he was very, very enthusiastic. But what I have to say is that the library in the city centre, we've had a discussion, a very enthusiastic discussion of the possibilities there are there with the expansion of Armada Way, with that lovely piece which will go straight from the library right onto the grass area there, how that can be developed into opportunities for further developing your rhyme time and also story time, because I was actually there during rhyme time. And there are lots and lots of opportunities, and probably have to have a little bit of a risk assessment, but there is so much that could be done there. It's perfect. The grass, I just point out, the grass is incredibly soft and springy. And if you're the tiniest person, as in someone who's still crawling around, it's actually just absolutely perfect. So it was a great honour today, and I must say that many people in the local community there were very much, just on their way, walking in and out in town, were very much engaging with that character, and it's one of the wonderful things about how we use libraries now. And someone was just saying about that silence in libraries, where there was nothing like silence in the library this morning, as you heard the voices of children singing with rhymes.
Thank you. Do you know, we're so keen to remove ourselves from that old stereotype that libraries are meant to be quiet. In no way are libraries meant to be quiet. They're thriving. They're the heart of the community. And actually, I love a bit of noise. I mean, that's what a library should be for. We have quiet spaces, of course. But I really would love to just sort of say how wonderful that space on Armada Way will prove for us, because actually we don't live in a world anymore where we can just expect our users to walk through our door. And actually, if we can meet them in a different way, in a different place, that's really crucial to us.
I've got being a bit naughty here, but I've got several ideas. You've got all sorts of potential for taking lots of stories and relating them to that space and that environment. I think we can do a version of going on a bear hunt in which we can change the words and we can go on a hunt right around Armada Way. So brilliant.
Yes, thank you. I mean, going on a Plymouth hunt would be great, wouldn't it? So, yeah, we can do that.
Thank you very much indeed. Tom?
I wasn't planning on speaking on this item, but just wanted to applaud your passion and Sally's as well. And just kind of join in the libraries, loving, like Chris, libraries was such an important space for me growing up. Grew up in Tor Point in a home that didn't have thousands of books, but where my parents encouraged me to go to the library every week. And when I trained to be an English teacher, that was always in the back of my mind. And one thing I remember from my PGCE, the teacher training qualification, is that you talk about different predictors for people's future success. And one of the top ones on that is, unfortunately, your parents' household income in terms of the likelihood of you following in that path. The only thing that trumps it in terms of data predictions is about reading for pleasure. So important in terms of different career paths that you can go into. And so the expansion of library opening times that this council is trying to do in difficult funding constraints, that's a social justice aim, that's an economic development aim, and the outcomes from that are really far-reaching.
Very well made point. Jemima?
Well, I feel like I should share my library story now. Maybe not the fact that I had my own library when I was a child that my mum created for me with the little wallets and all the books, and she made me the little tickets and the stamps, and I used to find my family if they weren't back in time. I've still got some of those books with the little wallety bit inside, but I can remember as a child waiting for the summer for Paddington Library's bookworm challenge. And I can still remember the feeling I got at the end of the summer, getting my certificate, standing up in front of everybody and talking about the book that I'd enjoyed the most over the summer. And I think that, we should all be really proud to be part of a cabinet and a council that is expanding library hours. And if we talk about children and young people and we talk about wanting Plymouth to be the best place to grow up, it's things like this that make Plymouth a great place to grow up. And I think for you, Sally, I think this is your last paper that you're bringing to Cabinet. Well, what a thing to go out on. It's just brilliant. And Graham, I hadn't met you before, but if there was anybody who's a little bit a bit ambivalent about libraries, I think talking to you for 2 minutes would completely get them over that. It's so important, and actually it's quite telling. I can't think of a Cabinet item where we've all had something to contribute about how important a particular service has been in our own lives, whichever council area we grew up in. So thank you, and thank you to you, Sally. It's great, and I can't wait to see where this goes.
Last word, Sally?
I'm not used to everyone being so nice to me. Gosh, I'm trying to hold everything back here. This is hard work today. Just last words. We've all said about libraries, how important they are. It's not just about reading, but, it's about the staff behind there who come up with some fantastic ideas, like donate a winter coat. Let's not just donate a winter coat. Let's put an old book in there and a Christmas card, because that person might not even get a card or a present that year. So, do you know what I mean? Those sort of ideas. We have had an Efford Open Event Day, so where the community has attended. Efford Ward Councillors attended, I attended, just to get a feel and listen to people and to see if those ideas that we had in mind would work. And, I thought it was very busy. It was very busy, but very successful. The bank's already been mentioned, but a lot of people have talked about the Summer Reading Challenge. Can I just say thanks to every single councillor that contributes? It's so important because we're funding so hard. The library service don't have that much money to be able to do that fantastic service for those young people, to do that in the summer. And, if them young people get that certificate, it's normally donated, they normally get it in their school assembly, which is even more exciting in front of their peers. But, for years on, if that memory sticks, like Jemima spoke about, Chris has spoke about, It's so important, that little thing that you councillors can actually do. So I have warned Graham. I am still going to be a library member. I still will be around. I'll need lots of books for lots of travels. But thank you very much for putting this together, and I wish you all success in what this paper shows. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you for that. Graham, thank you for coming today. So there's a recommendation to note and support the direction set out for the Future Libraries programme for Plymouth. That's what it asks us to do today. But in pretty short order, you'll be coming back to us with some asks, which hopefully we'll have the right answers to. But this sounds like a great way forward, and congratulations, Sally, on that. I'm going to ask you to vote on whether you want to note the report now. All those in favour of noting, please show. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 11, Corporate Plan Monitoring Report, Quarter 3. And Chris is here on his Todd.
Indeed, and hopefully I'll manage. If not, Sai over there is going to have to pick up for Paul, who's on leave this week. Leader, this is the latest in our regular monitoring reports. These come to us for noting before going to the Scrutiny Management Board to inform their work programme and to pass on relevant elements to the scrutiny panels for interrogation. The report shows that the City Council is making progress against our corporate plan priorities, with several positive indicators across community safety, employment and safeguarding. Antisocial behaviour reports fell in quarter 3, early intervention remains consistent, and adult safeguarding efficiency has improved. The employment rate has risen above the SIPFA average, and school Ofsted outcomes continue to improve. Overall, the Council is delivering against its priorities whilst navigating ongoing demand and resource pressures. Leader, over the past year, we've not only been reporting on our activity and supporting directorates through various inspections. In fact, there seems to have been quite a lot of those this year. We've also been working on improving our approach to how our performance is reported on, both internally and externally. I'm really pleased that we're ready for this to roll out from the start of the new financial year, and I look forward to sharing this with you in future Cabinet meetings, but it will be looking different. And I hasten to say, for people who've been asking the question, yes, the report that Cabinet gets will be the same report that CMT gets. So we're being really honest here about the way our performance works. But for now, I commend this to you and pass it over to you for noting.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, with that report, I know it was a quick fly across the rooftops there, but you know, it's sort of in, there's been a lot of progress. So thank you for that, Chris, and we look forward to seeing the new improved version at the next time we meet, I guess. Okay, shall we note the corporate plan monitoring report? All is in favour of noting? Thank you. Now, if you don't mind, I want to swap the order and bring forward the Cabinet member updates. So can I start with that? And I'm going to start with Councillor Bryers-Dell.
Thank you very much, Leader. I feel like I should start off with an apology. A couple of weeks ago, I didn't have a chance to make announcements because there's a packed agenda. So I have a bumper list of 10 announcements to make today, covering all of the positive news in the environmental sector over the last couple of months. So starting off with food waste. This month marked the successful launch of phase 1 of our new weekly food waste recycling service. It included neighbourhoods in Plymstock, Plimpton, Keyham, Stoke, Devonport, Southway and Whitley. That meant caddies have been already delivered to 28,000 homes, and in the last few weeks alone, over 100 tonnes of food waste has been collected so far. We're really pleased with the initial participation rate and hope that even more people will continue to get involved, very much supported by the engagement activities led by our new recycling officer team. It's also been great to hear that other communities are now enthusiastically asking when they can get stuck in. The project team have been busy upgrading our online postcode checker that residents will soon be able to use to find out when their weekly food waste collections will start as we continue to roll out this service across the rest of 2026. Pleased to confirm this tool will be publicly available from next Monday. Number two, the Plymouth Plan for Nature and People. You'll recall that at the end of last year, we signed off our ambitious co-created vision for the Plymouth Plan for Nature and People. Since then, we've hit the ground running and are now publishing a first-year action plan to help accelerate delivery. To give just a few examples of what we're poised to deliver later this year, we're going to complete a plan for water, collaborating with partners to improve water quality, launch a new natural environment volunteering programme to get more people active in nature, bring forward new habitat bank sites, which essentially just means channeling external investment into our beloved public spaces. We're going to enhance free waterfront community anchor points at Ernesettle, Firestone Bay and Canterbury Creek. And I've got to thank the St Budo councillors for suggesting Canterbury Creek for that, which is good news whether you're a coastal walker, a swimmer or a fisher perhaps. And one that always goes down well, we're really keen to keep expanding community orchards, providing free and healthy fruit for local families. So that's just a few of the many things that we've got lined up over the next year through the Plan for Nature and People. Community forest, number 3, we're nearing the end of this year's winter planting season, and I'm pleased to confirm that since November, through collaboration, we've recently planted another 5,000 trees. Since our PCC-led community forest was established, the team have brought nearly 500,000 trees across South Devon. I'd like to thank all the council officers, local volunteers and organisations like Plymouth Tree People and Society who have made that possible on the ground. Once again, there's been an eclectic mix of schemes this year, including street trees outside PCH flats on Durnford Street, a green space by Sheridan Road, which was co-designed with young people, and on the St Pancras Avenue estate, we worked with landowners to deliver 43 trees in Whitley to act as wildlife corridors between isolated pockets of woodland. Number 4, spring bulbs. You might have noticed some more flowers popping up across Plymouth. After the success of last year's colourful wildflower roundabouts, I asked officers to prepare a process for spreading cheap but cheerful spring bulbs at scale. 40,000 bulbs have been planted since, and I want to thank the 15 Plymouth Labour councillors who suggested popular locations and donated thousands of pounds of community grant for daffodils in this case, which are now blooming in 9 different wards. And that's something we're hoping to extend to different varieties and locations next winter as well. Number 5, halfway there, the Climate Resilience Fund. Plymouth has been selected as part of a European-wide programme on climate resilience. We're going to receive €210,000 in grant funding alongside expert tools and guidance to develop a robust climate adaptation strategy, which is particularly pressing for us as both an urban and hilly coastal city. Number 6, flood relief. Talking of climate adaptation, this morning I had the pleasure of visiting the Trefusis Park Flood Relief Scheme, and I'm pleased to confirm that the main works are nearly complete. The seasonal wetland basins are fully operational already and functioning well, helping to reduce flood risk in Lipson Vale. The contractors are now finishing off the footpaths on that site. Number 7, Armada Way. I'm normally very happy to leave Armada Way to Councillor Lowry, but I just wanted to note that 2 of 4 new architectural solar canopies are currently being installed right in the heart. The canopies, which cover an area of about 150 square metres and stand 4 metres tall, will contribute towards the energy requirements of the new pumps for the rill, or as myself and most people would refer to it, the stream. As well as generating clean energy, we hope they will become a popular meet-up space with sheltered benches and phone charging points, which are requested by the public in the consultation on our improved scheme for Armada Way. Number 8, as Councillor Cresswell mentioned earlier, Plymouth pupils have just benefited from a week of inspiring nature-filled adventures thanks to a brand new city partnership. More than 400 children went over to Mount Edgecombe last week, coordinated by both the Council's public health but also the National Marine Park teams. Councillor Cresswell and I were very pleased to join one of the cohorts on Thursday. And kind of similar to the point I made on the library item earlier, one of the things that made it such a special day for me was talking to some of the students, some of which had never visited Cornwall before or ever been on a ferry. And so by the council giving those opportunities to young people who are mostly living in Barnbarton in a really transformative experience. So they engaged in woodland walks, shoreline litter picks, hands-on learning in historical settings, really helping young people thrive and connect with the natural world. And I just wanted to say on a more wider point, between that, the NMP, Paul Farm, I think it's fair to say that Plymouth is leading the way in championing nature connection and outdoor learning for young people. Number 9, nearly there, prizes. I'm delighted to share that the Council's Energy Infrastructure team has recently been put forward for 2 major awards. Last week we won Local Authority of the Year at the South West Energy Efficiency Awards. Not quite the Oscars, but I was very pleased to see that. This recognition reflects our resident-focused retrofit programmes that are already improving the warmth and also financial resilience of lower-income households. Climate Connections is also a finalist for the MJ Awards in the Communications category after a year focused on citywide collaboration and behaviour change. Last year, just a small team of officers reached nearly 200,000 people with positive practical messaging, working with over 100 organisations and delivered around 30 events. So finally, number 10, you'll be pleased to hear. I've covered lots of PCC initiatives in that announcement, and I wanted to end on something more community focused. At the end of the day, nature recovery and decarbonisation just isn't possible if we don't bring people with us. And what we've done is stitch several Climate Connection clips together, which celebrate the residents, businesses and young people who are really leading the way in Plymouth and who became some of our Climate Legends winners last year. So over to you, Hannah.
I've always been really passionate about the planet and the climate. I grew up in Cornwall, very close to nature, out in nature all the time. So it's always been something embedded deep in me. And when I finished university and came out into the workplace, I realised that I had an opportunity to have an impact on the planet with our buildings that we design, and that actually we should do it with a better focus on sustainability and being more environmentally friendly.
Sarah's role, certainly within Stride Your Clown as a company, but also within the region, is unrivaled. She has a huge passion for the environment, for sustainable development, and this is a passion she's had throughout her career. There has to be a drive to ensure that buildings that we are designing are resilient to these environmental implications.
We want to make sure that our buildings are fit for purpose, fit for use, and fit for the future, for the planet.
There's a really good opportunity there for students to learn from each other and also learn from doing things practically and hopefully take those things away. They become not just a school thing, but they become something that translates into their home life and community life as well.
This is the outside classroom. This is where I bring students to lead forest-based learning and also just as a space to learn holistically and be guided by the students, making it what they want it to be.
This has complemented the curriculum. It's not replaced the curriculum. They can go hand in hand. In fact, what it does do is rediscover a joy of bringing that learning to life. I think we're onto something really exciting here. It's really changed the culture across the school.
We've had students go in and lead assemblies on environmental issues. We've had a letter writing campaign to MPs, and that got a large number of students in the school involved. Young people care about this stuff and they want to see action.
Government has its role to play, local councils have its role to play, but actually communities have their role to play in as well, either individuals, and it always starts from an individual.
So I got this message from Friends of the Earth. Would you like to be a member of a local climate action group? And I said, yes, I'd love to be a member of a climate action group. And they wrote back to me and said, well, there isn't one. But you can set up one. As a group, you have more influence and you also learn. I've learned so much from being part of Climate Action Plymouth. We share knowledge, we discuss ideas, and we consider how we can best influence those who have influence.
We do need people like Ricky and the people she works with to actually get the message out there to the communities we live in, the city we live in, promoting action that can do to help mitigate it, no matter how small, no matter how big.
You need people pushing up from below to create change, and we can only do things by all working together.
Thank you for showing those videos, Tom. Is there any way you can see those videos without having to attend a cabinet meeting?
Yes, thankfully, although I'm sure there's thousands watching live now. I would recommend anyone follows the Climate Connections Facebook page. So Climate Connections is our behaviour change programme as a local authority. It's about making things colourful, straightforward, and in a way that really benefits people. So give them a follow on Facebook. We'll be sharing those clips and more over the coming weeks and months.
Thank you very much indeed. And that wasn't an exhaustive list of 10 of the things that you've achieved this year on the environment, Tom. But we look forward to giving them a bit more ventilation as some of those seeds you've planted grow into marvellous things. But thanks for that list and congratulations on the awards. We'll make sure that we're asking to be considered for a number of other awards in the course of the next 12 months, I think. Jemima, would you like to offer something?
I would, thank you, Leader. I've got a video, I believe. So this is a video that Abby from the box has put together, just some highlights from the Beryl Cook sculpture trail, because then I've got a couple of announcements about the sculptures to share. Okay. This doesn't have any music. That's Beryl Cook's family there, enjoying that one. Thank you. I think probably need to stick some music on that. But I mean, we knew people would love them, but I think we've all been blown away by how much people love them. So I'm delighted to announce that we've put in for an extension to the temporary planning to keep them in place until the end of 2029. One of the recurring comments I've had and emails and when I bump into people is, oh, please don't let them go in when the exhibition goes. Please can we keep them in place? So I'm really excited that they are going to be here until at least 2029. So that's those four, but I'm also delighted to announce that there is another two sculptures coming that Tudor and I went down to see the incredible team at TR2 that they are working on, and it's from Beryl Cook's painting called Hips and Chips. And it's two people tucking into some fish and chips, and that is going on a bench on the Hoe by the Belvedere, and that's been very generously supported by the Plymouth Waterfront Partnership. So I think the installation of that is in the next few weeks. So we were particularly taken with the larger-than-life chips and fish that is going to be sitting in the box of the two people in the sculpture. The event page stats from social media have been incredible, particularly around the sculptures, and over 1,000 people have scanned the QR codes on the sculptures. And when they were launched, we had 6 pieces of content on the box channels about them, and this content has had a reach of over 387,000 accounts on Facebook and Instagram, and more than 500,000 views. And that's pretty much the most far-reaching content that we've had on our channels this year. So very, very excited to see the new sculptures, and that the ones in place are going to be with us for a lot longer. And we're always also looking for potential other sites for permanent sculptures, as Plymouth is the home of Beryl, and the exhibition turnout and the feedback has been overwhelmingly brilliant. I also want to mention the fact that Plymouth was left off the long list for UK City of Culture, much to everyone's surprise, not just in Plymouth. Actually, I've heard from people all over the country. It's disappointing news, but we're determined to use the legacy from the bidding process to continue to embed culture into the life of the city. The process was exemplary in the time frame we had, and I really want to thank the bid team, particularly Hannah Harris, Victoria Pomeroy and David Draffen, and I also want to thank all our partners and the creative and cultural community who supported the bid in so many ways. And thank you to Plymouthians, to Janners, who took this idea and absolutely ran with it. And with this in mind, I've asked Hannah Harris and Victoria Pomeroy to come back to Cabinet with a paper in July on how we develop our own programme called Our City, Our Culture, Our Way. We don't want to let that enthusiasm and pride, actually, that this process really underlined go. So we're going to make sure that we absolutely capitalise on it. Last week, the Arts Council Area Director for the South West, Phil Gibby, and the Chair, Helen Birchenough, brought together a group of senior cultural leaders from across the South West, including the Director of Bristol Museum Service, the Welsh National Opera, Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra and Bristol Old Vic. They're all in the South West National Portfolio of Arts Council England, and they came on Thursday for a roundtable discussion at Theatre Royal Plymouth and a tour of the box, which they really loved. It was very successful. And the leaders of Torbay, Cornwall, Devon and Plymouth councils met at the box to sign the Team Plymouth MOU and had a tour of the Beryl Cook exhibition and the box, and they were really impressed with the investment that Plymouth makes in culture. And then I know we've sort of mentioned Armada Way, but I really enjoyed going to Armada Way today to have a game of backgammon on the new backgammon tables. And I know people really missed the chess tables, so there's the 2 chess tables are back as well, but I'm a backgammon fan, and I asked if maybe we could have backgammon tables there, and I had 2 really good games. I was, this isn't as bad as it sounds, I was gammoned by Gerald from Plymouth Backgammon Club, but I did actually win the second game. But honestly, as soon as they were open, people were there with their chess sets, backgammon pieces, really enjoying being able to play backgammon and chess in the sun. So next time you're in town, bring your pieces with you and have a game. And if anyone wants to play me, I'm definitely up for it. Thanks, Leader.
Thank you, Jemima. Any other members of the Cabinet? Chris? Yeah.
Thank you, Leader. I wasn't going to make an announcement, and then in your announcement at the beginning, you trailed I would, so I thought I better had. I'm really pleased that this week you will be taking an executive decision to transfer land at Bath Street to Plymouth Community Homes, required for 18 much-needed homes for social rent within Plymouth City Centre development area. Work is scheduled to commence within the next month or so. A total of 135 affordable homes will eventually be built on the Bath Street West site, which is a top priority project for the delivery of new and affordable housing in and around the city centre as part of the work that you talked about earlier. We've been working for quite a long time behind the scenes with Homes England and One Public Estate to unlock Bath Street West and to support Plymouth Community Homes to bring regeneration into that part of Mill Bay. And it has been a long process, but this is now the final stages of the jigsaw falling into place. And both Homes England and ourselves are putting our money where our mouth is and providing substantial grant aid to support the provision of this much needed housing at social rent. The housing will be a mix of 1 and 2 bed flats and 3 bed houses, and all of that will be made available for people on our housing waiting list at Devon Home Choice. Thank you, Leader.
Well done indeed, well done indeed. I think I've signed something today.
I wasn't sure whether it was done today or not, so I didn't say today, but yes, that's all done.
That's great news. Sally.
Thank you, Leader. This is something I think you signed off just recently, Leader. I'm pleased to announce that Plymouth City Council is taking another step in its improvement journey to support children with special educational needs and disabilities, with plans for more specialist places in one of our city schools. A decision has been taken to add just over £1 million to the capital programme to enable the building of a modular classroom block at Ernest Settle Community School, creating between 16 and 20 additional SEND places at the school. Ernest Settle Community School, which is currently rated as outstanding by Ofsted, caters for children between the ages of 2 and 11 years. It has a nursery, preschool and early years foundation stage. It can take up to 525 primary school aged pupils, but with the current number on roll surpassing the school's capacity for SEND and mainstream pupils, the school needs to expand within the existing campus. So the 2 new classroom blocks will be sited on a vacated area of land within the school site. And we're making steady progress in improving our SEND offer, and this is another step forward to build more inclusion places within our mainstream provision. We want to do all we can to support our children, young people and families with SEND so they can remain close to their local communities and ensure they feel and they belong and have the same opportunities as all other children to be able to thrive and achieve. The project is strongly supported by Ernest Settle Community School and Aaron Meredith, who's the Executive Head Teacher of the school and CEO of the Inspire Multi-Academy Trust Southwest. And as he said, they're incredibly proud to be expanding provision and to support more children with special educational needs and disabilities within their community, because at its heart, for Ernest Settle, inclusion sits at the heart of everything that they do. And as you all already know, I've previously announced, and we are, is that Ofsted and the Care Quality Commission recently published their latest report on SEND services within Plymouth. And inspectors found that children and families across the city are seeing real improvements because of the way that organisations are actually genuinely working together. SEND support in Plymouth is not delivered by a single organisation, but by a wide partnership, including, very, very importantly at its heart, is Plymouth City Council, the NHS Devon, Live Well, Southwest, local schools and the University of Plymouth and many others. And bringing that together is what's really key with those key improvements that we're seeing. This project directly contributes towards the outcomes contained within the school's SEND sufficiency plan, which was approved by Cabinet back in September 2024. And the other thing, Councillor Lowry, is that the project is wholly funded by the SEN High Needs Grant. So there's actually no revenue impact on the council's budget. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much indeed. Kate Taylor, do you have anything for us?
Less an announcement and just an opportunity, I think, to wish Plymouth Argyle women's team the best of luck on Saturday. They're in the final of the FA Women's National League Cup against AFC Bournemouth at Loftus Road, so I think it would be remiss of us not to mention it and wish them luck on Saturday.
Yes, indeed. It's very remiss of us not to mention that earlier on, because it is a fantastic achievement, and to get to this stage of the competition. Although by the time we next meet as a cabinet, hopefully we'll be wishing the men's team all the best in the promotion playoffs. But as you'll know, as a regular to this cabinet meeting, we wish Mr. Cleverly all the best with his engagements for the next few weeks. We have a question for you about casework, I think. I forgot to ask, but is there any information around statistics on casework that you would be bringing to our attention?
Yeah, we did a bit of number crunching after the full council meeting where Councillor Nicholson accused us of members on this side of being lazy and not doing their casework. So we just did a bit of number crunching to see if that was accurate, and found actually that on average Labour councillors had submitted 105 pieces of casework each on average across the year, compared to 61 for the independent group, 38 for the Conservatives, 37 for the Greens, and then just 14 for the single Liberal Democrat member. So we didn't get an opportunity to correct the record following Councillor Nicholson's misinformation in the chamber. So we wanted to put it on record today that actually there's a significant difference in the number of cases, nearly 5,000 cases altogether actually, and my learned friend to the right topped it by quite some way actually, but nearly 5,000 pieces of casework put in, and the majority of them were from Labour councillors and not from other councillors.
Well, thank you for bringing that to our attention. Thank you to Councillor Brydesdale, not only for doing the crunching, but also for doing the hard yards on the casework submissions as well. I think the people of Stoke are very lucky to have three excellent councillors available to them, and I hope that after May the 7th, the team will remain intact, because they have a fine team. Okay, so is there any more cabinet updates to come? I got Councillor Cresswell. You've done yours, haven't you? Councillor Hayden, and then I'll have Councillor Aspel.
Thank you, Leader. I'm hoping you wouldn't mind if I just done part of my speech that I would have been doing on Friday. On Friday is the closing remarks and farewell to the Knife Angel that has been in our city. I can't believe it, but it's 4 weeks, believe it or not. Shows when you're getting old that time goes faster, doesn't it? But if you're quite happy, I wouldn't mind just noting some of it. So I just want to take a moment today to reflect on what hosting the Knife Angel has meant for Plymouth. Over the past month, the Knife Angel has stood in our city as a powerful symbol against violence, made from thousands of knives surrendered across the country. It arrived here not just as a sculpture, but as a reminder of lives affected. Some families' lives have been changed forever, and the importance of early intervention and prevention. For Plymouth, the Knife Angel has brought people together. Schools, youth groups, community organisations, faith groups and families have all taken the time to reflect, to talk and to learn. Many young people have told us it made them think differently about the real impact of carrying a weapon. Teachers and youth workers have used this tool to open conversations that are often difficult but essential. The Knife Angel has also helped shine a light on the work already happening across our city, from the community safety teams, youth services and neighbourhood policing, to the incredible voluntary and community groups who support our young people every day. It has shown that when we work together, we can make Plymouth a safe place. Most importantly, it has given people hope. Hope that change is possible. Hope that awareness can save lives. And hope that our city continues to stand together against violence in all its forms. I'd like to thank everyone involved in making this possible. Our council teams, our partners, our volunteers, and many residents who have visited and engaged. Hosting the Knife Angel has left a mark on Plymouth, not just in the moments people spent in front of it, but in the conversations and the commitment that will continue long after it's gone. Thank you, Leader.
Sally, thank you very much indeed. You'll be there on Friday anyway, of course. I'd also want to add, the thanks to the staff, to you and Councillor Sproston as well for bringing this remarkable sculpture to Plymouth and for stimulating so much debate and discussion around it too. Okay, Mary, you wanted to give us some information.
I just really wanted to update people about Meadow View. I mean, you and I went there last week and were very relieved to know that they've got some tarmac down. The thought of going through all the mud was not going to be I wasn't looking forward to that. It's a timber frame building, so it's going up really fast. And I think what we noted last week is work has begun on the installation, the cladding, the making the building watertight, the flooring, and very smartly underfloor heating have been installed alongside fancy windows. The car park is going to be used for various things. I mean, one of the things that I was pleased to see is they've got the storage where they're going to put the scooters and the bikes and the trikes for use within the park, and that's up. It needs to be finished, obviously. But the feedback has been really good from staff, parents, carers, and people using the day service and respite about expressing their excitement about having a purpose-built facility. And we're really looking forward to seeing how the rest of it evolves. And one of those things that they've been doing is allowing their people to come in and try bricklaying, creating mosaics, and they're doing that at the Vine. They're making sure that the Vine's got some extra things to put in, which will be purpose-built, and that's got to be really exciting. One of the things we have to do is prepare a plan for the CQC. After the adult social care getting a good rating, we want to make sure that this helps us and we get the Care Quality Commission on our side about this. Something that you'll be interested in Leader, is that the team met with Building Plymouth to begin discussions about hosting a Mission Mascot activity during Learning Disability Week, a Meadowview themed version of Mission Mammoth, which took place in the box. And the thing that I've really enjoyed watching is how Devon contractors have really been engaged and making sure that they have key social value milestones. As part of National Careers Week, Meadowview opened the site to Plymouth University engineering students and pupil from St Boniface Secondary School. Plus student Harry is progressing really well in his graphic design placement, producing excellent work for the project, and Plymouth University students are also involved in ongoing work experience. And then coming down a few years, the children of Montpelier Primary School have been taking part in a Meadowview themed poster competition. Now I gather that's to be judged this week, so I'm really interested in finding out how everybody gets on. So, looking forward to the next milestone. The topping out ceremony at Meadowview is scheduled for May. So let's hope that they can keep going at the pace they're doing. And we look forward to actually having the building ready to be occupied later this year. Thank you, Leader.
That's lovely. Thank you, Mary. Anybody got anything else? Okay, so I'm going to go back to leaders' announcements. I just... before I start, you referenced the signing of the MOU, which is quite significant. So the leader of Devon, the leader of Cornwall, the leader of Torbay, and myself, under the watchful eye of King Billy statue at the box, signed this MOU on how we were going to work together to bring home the benefits of the dockyard project to the whole of the region, really, you know. We've talked about it as being Plymouth's moment, and it is, but actually 25,000 jobs ain't going to come just from Plymouth. It will be an opportunity for every child and every grandchild in the community at the moment. And my appeal is to all parents and all grandparents throughout Cornwall and Devon, Torbay, and here, of course, is talk to children about careers in the dockyard. There's going to be work there for decades to come, and it's going to be really, really the breadth of opportunities there, and in the industries outside of the dockyard and the supply chains and the housing. We are going to have so many opportunities for people to stay here and not have to leave this area in order to make it. So please see it as one of your parental and grandparent duties to become careers officers for a while, because this can be the making of us. We've talked about it before, about this and how it's been our turn and then there's been a downturn. But what this feels like right now is that Plymouth's at a tipping point in terms of the opportunity for stability, economic stability that's in front of us. And more importantly, for us to all get an opportunity for a pay rise, and what that does in terms of what that can do for the community outside, whether that's retailers, bar owners, restaurant owners, and all the rest of it, it will be a significant shot in the arm. So this is the last cabinet meeting of the municipal year. So we've said goodbye to Sally. Now, normally here I would get all emotional about it being the last cabinet meeting of the year, but actually, I'm not going to get particularly emotional this time, because what I'm going to get is firstly thankful to the officers of the council who've supported the cabinet in our work, offering us easy solutions to difficult problems now and again, difficult solutions to difficult problems always. But we've been grateful for your advice and your professionalism, if not always for telling us things we don't want to hear. But I think we have become a cabinet that is happy to receive things that we don't want to hear. It's part of the joy of governing that you have to do that from time to time. If it was easy, anyone could do it. And to be honest with you, I don't think anybody can do it. We're going to see that in a minute at the election. I mean, if you look around the country at the moment, people who've said it's easy to govern, you know, if you look at the good people at Worcester, when they were in Worcestershire, where they were told that if they elected Reform, their council tax would be cut, and they would bring in something called Dodge, which would come in and identify all sorts of cuts to services, and then they would bring their council tax down. And those good people have now seen their council tax go up by 9%, and have it rebranded by the leader of Reform, not locally but nationally, Farage, who said that when he said cut, he meant the cut in the amount that they would be rising by. Well, I mean, that's a perversion of the English language. You know, the audacity of that is something to behold. So my plea to the people of Plymouth is, do look a gift horse in the mouth, especially if it comes with a light blue colour scheme on it. If you remember the promises that Farage made, which was that they were anti-establishment, I just want you to have a few facts and figures about Reform that you might want to hear, and I think it's quite important. So they say they're different. They say they're anti-establishment. 92% of Reform's funding is from ex-Tories. 100% of its MPs are ex-Tories. The party leader is an ex-Tory. The deputy leader is an ex-Tory. The Scottish leader is an ex-Tory. The Welsh leader is an ex-Tory. 100% of MSPs and MSs are ex-Tories. Over 80% of their councillors are ex-Tories. Farage says, never trust a Tory. I would say, don't let a new logo and a different colour, a shade of blue, fool you. This is the Conservative Party in anything else but name. And we in this city know what happens when you elect Tories to run this council. You get trees chopped down in the middle of the night. You get services slashed and burned. You get council tax rises that will make your eyes bleed. So I say to you, be careful what you do on May the 7th. Please vote Labour. Thank you very much. And I wish you all the very best for the forthcoming festivities.